In the ancient city of Jericho, walls stood tall and strong. People felt safe and secure inside, believing their city was unconquerable and their defenses were impenetrable. Among the many people living in Jericho was a woman named Rahab. Her house was built right into the city wall, a common practice in those ancient times. Rahab was known as a prostitute. This was her profession, a difficult life for any woman. It often meant she was looked down upon by others in her community. Meanwhile, the people of Israel were camped nearby. They had escaped slavery in Egypt and were now ready to enter the land God had promised to give them. Their leader, Joshua, decided to scout the city of Jericho. He needed to know about its defenses and the morale of the people living within its walls. Joshua chose 2 of his best men for this dangerous mission. They were to go into Jericho secretly, gather information, and then report everything back to him. The 2 spies made their way to the city. It was a risky journey, as they would be seen as enemies if they were ever discovered by the guards. They entered Jericho and needed a place to stay hidden. They sought a discreet location where they could observe without drawing any unwanted attention to themselves. Their search for a safe haven led them directly to Rahab's house. Its location on the city wall made it a strategic and convenient hiding place. Rahab welcomed the 2 men into her home. She did not turn them away, even though she must have known they were outsiders and not from Jericho. News of the spies' arrival spread quickly through the city. Someone had spotted the strangers and reported their presence to the king of Jericho, raising an alarm. The king was very alarmed by this troubling news. He immediately sent his soldiers to find the spies, fearing they were there to plot an attack against him. The soldiers went straight to Rahab's house to investigate. They had been told that the spies were last seen entering her home, making her a prime suspect. They demanded that Rahab bring out the 2 men. They were under direct orders from the king and expected her to comply with their commands without any questions. But Rahab had already hidden the spies safely. She had taken them up to her roof and concealed them under stalks of flax that were drying there. She bravely lied to the king's soldiers. She told them that the men had already left the city just before the gates were closed for the night. She urged the soldiers to hurry and pursue them. She suggested that if they were quick enough, they might be able to catch up with the spies. The soldiers believed her story completely. They rushed out of the city in pursuit, heading towards the Jordan River, hoping to capture the 2 fleeing Israelite men. Once the soldiers were gone, Rahab went up to the roof. She needed to speak with the 2 spies she had just saved from certain capture and death. She told them that the people of Jericho were terrified. They had heard stories of the Israelites' powerful God and the victories he had given them over others. Rahab spoke of how God had parted the Red Sea. This incredible miracle was known even in Jericho, striking fear into the hearts of all its inhabitants. She also mentioned the defeat of 2 powerful kings. The news of these victories had convinced her people that the Israelites' God was truly mighty and unstoppable. Rahab then declared her own faith. She said, "The Lord your God is God in heaven above and on the earth below," a remarkable statement of belief. She had heard of God's power and believed in him. Her faith was not based on what she had seen, but on the incredible stories she had heard. Rahab then made a request to the spies. She asked them to swear an oath to her, a promise to show kindness to her and her family. She had shown them great kindness by saving their lives. Now, she was asking for the same mercy in return when their army came to attack Jericho. The spies agreed to her heartfelt request. They promised that she and her entire family would be spared from the destruction that was to come upon the city. They gave her a specific instruction to follow. She was to tie a scarlet cord in her window as a sign for the Israelite army to see. This scarlet cord would mark her house. It would be a clear signal to the soldiers that everyone inside was to be protected and kept safe from harm. She also had to gather her entire family inside her house. Her father, mother, brothers, and all their relatives had to be with her to be saved. If anyone from her family went out into the streets, their safety would no longer be guaranteed. The promise of protection only applied inside her marked home. Rahab accepted their terms without any hesitation. She understood the importance of following their instructions precisely to ensure the safety of her loved ones from the battle. Then, she helped the two spies escape from the city. Since her house was on the wall, she let them down by a rope through her window. This was a very clever and brave way to get them out. It allowed them to bypass the city gates, which were now being watched very closely. She also gave them some wise advice for their journey. She told them to hide in the hills for 3 days before returning to their own camp. This would give them enough time to avoid the king's soldiers. The soldiers would eventually give up their search and return to the city of Jericho. The spies followed her instructions carefully. They hid in the mountains for 3 days, waiting for the danger to pass before they continued their journey back home. After 3 days had passed, they returned to Joshua. They reported everything that had happened and all the valuable information that they had gathered in Jericho. They told Joshua about Rahab's incredible bravery. They explained how she had hidden them from the soldiers and helped them escape from the fortified city. They also relayed her powerful declaration of faith. They shared how she believed in the power of their God, which was a great encouragement to them. Joshua and the Israelites then prepared to cross the Jordan River. They were now ready to begin their conquest of the land that God had promised. God performed another great miracle for them. He stopped the flow of the Jordan River, allowing the entire nation of Israel to cross on dry ground. This event further terrified the people of Jericho. Their last natural defense, the river, had been effortlessly overcome by the power of the Israelites' great God. The Israelite army then marched towards the city of Jericho. They set up their camp and prepared for the battle that was about to take place. God gave Joshua a very unusual battle plan. He was not to attack the city with conventional weapons or tactics, but to follow God's specific instructions. The army was to march around the city once a day. They were instructed to do this for 6 consecutive days in complete and total silence. The priests were to carry the Ark of the Covenant. They were also to blow their trumpets, made from ram's horns, as they marched around the city. On the 7th day, they were to march around the city 7 times. This was the culmination of the strange and mysterious instructions they had been given. After the 7th lap, the priests would blow a long blast on their trumpets. This would be the signal for the entire army to finally break their silence. At that moment, all the people were to shout with a great shout. This collective cry would be their primary weapon in this very unconventional battle. The Israelites followed God's instructions perfectly. For 6 days, they marched in silence, with only the sound of the priests' trumpets filling the air. The people inside Jericho must have been very confused. They watched this strange ritual day after day, wondering what the Israelite army was planning to do. All this time, Rahab kept the scarlet cord in her window. It was a constant symbol of her faith and her trust in the promise of the spies. She had gathered all of her family inside her house. They waited together, placing their hope in the promise that they would be kept safe. On the 7th day, the Israelites marched 7 times. The tension must have been building with each silent lap they took around the city's high walls. Then, the final trumpet blast sounded loud and clear. The entire army let out a mighty shout that echoed across the entire plain surrounding the city. And then, a truly incredible thing happened. The massive fortified walls of Jericho crumbled and fell down flat, completely collapsing into a pile of rubble. The Israelite army could now enter the city easily. There were no more walls to stop them from conquering the city as God had commanded them. Joshua gave a specific order before the attack began. He reminded his soldiers to save Rahab and her entire family, just as the spies had promised. The 2 spies who had met her were sent to her house. They were the ones assigned to bring her and her relatives out to safety. They found her house, marked by the scarlet cord. It was still standing, a testament to God's faithfulness and his protection over those who trust him. They brought Rahab and her family out of the city. They led them to a safe place within the Israelite camp, away from all the fighting. The rest of the city of Jericho was completely destroyed. Everything and everyone in it was devoted to destruction, according to God's command at that time. Rahab and her family were the only ones who were saved. Her act of faith had protected not only herself, but also all of her loved ones. This event showed the incredible power of God. He could bring down the strongest walls and deliver victory to his people in the most unexpected ways. It also highlighted the importance of faith. Rahab, a woman with a sinful past, was saved because she chose to believe in the one true God. Her story is a powerful example of God's grace. He chose to save a woman who was considered an outcast by her own society and people. Rahab's past did not matter to God. He saw her heart and her faith, and he welcomed her into his family and his unfolding plan for humanity. After the battle, Rahab lived among the Israelites. She was accepted as one of them, no longer an outsider but a part of the community. Her story did not end there. The Bible tells us that she went on to marry an Israelite man named Salmon, a leader from the tribe of Judah. This marriage was very significant. It showed her complete integration into the nation of Israel and her acceptance by the people who once were her enemies. Rahab and Salmon had a son named Boaz. Boaz would grow up to be a very important and respected man in the town of Bethlehem. Boaz is a key figure in the book of Ruth. He is known for his kindness and integrity, showing great compassion to a foreign widow named Ruth. Boaz eventually married Ruth, another woman from a foreign land. Their story is another beautiful example of God's love and redemption for all people. Their son was named Obed, and Obed became the father of a man named Jesse, who would also play a very important role in history. Jesse was the father of David, the greatest king of Israel. David was known as a man after God's own heart, a shepherd who became a king. This means that Rahab, the former prostitute from Jericho, was the great-great-grandmother of King David. Her lineage was now part of Israel's royal family. This is a truly amazing part of her story. It shows how God can take someone from the lowest places and elevate them to a position of honor. But Rahab's legacy goes even further than that. Her name is mentioned in the New Testament as well, holding a place of very high honor. In the Gospel of Matthew, she is listed in the genealogy of Jesus Christ. This is the family line that leads directly to the birth of the Savior. Matthew includes only a few women in this important list. The fact that Rahab is one of them shows her incredible significance in God's plan. She is remembered as an ancestor of Jesus. Her faith played a crucial role in the history that would eventually lead to the salvation of the world. The book of Hebrews also mentions Rahab. She is listed in the Hall of Faith in chapter 11, alongside other great heroes of the Old Testament. She is praised for her faith in welcoming the spies. Her actions are held up as an example of what it means to truly trust in God's promises. The author of Hebrews highlights that through her faith, she was not destroyed with the disobedient people of Jericho. Her belief saved her from their fate. The book of James also uses Rahab as an example. James talks about the relationship between faith and good works, showing how they are connected. James points out that Rahab's faith was not just a belief. It was an active faith that led her to take action and risk her own life for others. He says she was justified by works when she helped the spies. Her actions were the clear and undeniable evidence of the genuine faith in her heart. This shows that true faith is never passive. It always results in a changed life and a willingness to obey God, no matter what the personal cost. Rahab's story teaches us that our past does not define our future. God can redeem anyone, no matter what they have done or where they come from. It shows that God's plan is often very different from our own. He uses unexpected people in unexpected ways to accomplish his perfect will in the world. Her courage is an inspiration to all of us. She stood against her own king and her own city because she believed in a higher power. She put her trust in a God she had only heard about. Her faith was based on the testimony of his mighty deeds, and she believed it completely. The scarlet cord is a powerful symbol in her story. It represents the protection and salvation that comes through faith and obedience to God's specific commands. Some people see it as a symbol of the blood of Jesus. Just as the cord saved Rahab, the sacrifice of Christ saves all who believe. Rahab's legacy is one of transformation. She went from being a prostitute in a doomed city to a hero of faith and an ancestor of Christ. Her story reminds us that no one is beyond God's reach. His grace is available to everyone who is willing to turn to him in faith. She is a testament to the fact that God values faith above all else. He looks at the heart, not at our social status or our past mistakes. Her life demonstrates that even one small act of faith can have a huge impact. It can change not only our own destiny, but also the course of history. Rahab's journey from a prostitute to a Bible hero is a powerful and enduring story of God's amazing grace, redemption, and the incredible power of faith.